So I'm Ro.
The gracious Badger. I'm Martha. We're here.
Making everything wobble.
We're wobbling.
Very presence.
We're wobbling with our very presence. Oh, I already need a Kleenex.
Yeah, Marty's potentially going to cry in this gathering room. So, like, she's always got a scarf.
I am a woman of many scarves.
I'm showing any viewers. Are you there? It doesn't usually take you guys so long. Oh, they're 18. Okay. Oh. Linda Gribko is first up tonight.
Oh, but Wendy Powell is hot on her heels.
Well, only very slightly. Thank God you're
there. I know.
Tamara from
that was
is that Minnesota? MN?
I don't know. I think so.
Minnesota.
We've got so many M states, more states
Yo,
than any other.
Hi, Cindy. Hi, Christina.
Adriana.
Hi, Adriana. Hi, Elle. Hi, Marlene. Hi, Donna. Oh, Carol's here from New Zealand.
People from Hawaii.
Everyone's there.
I bet the sun's still
Lara's
up there.
Here saying hello to the light if it's there. It's Melanie Phoenix.
Hi, Melanie.
Everyone's
a lot of Hawaii people. There's, our friend Kathy lives there. They should all get together. Should all get together. I mean, maybe you're on the same general island. Who knows?
Hi, everyone.
Knows? Southern Oregon, Northern Michigan.
Now. Oh, we love you, Sharon.
Hey, Anne. Hey, Jordy. Hey, Rhonda.
Hey, Angela. Angela was there for us at Multiversity recently. It was great to see you, girl.
Yep.
Claire.
Hi from Calgary. Woo!
Oh, yeah. We were waiting for you too, Anne.
Gracious Badger, you are almost off the screen.
No, that's it.
I know, but you're like, because you're working so intensely and so hard.
I'm getting carried away with myself. Oh, so many people in so many places.
I know, Tucson. We were just in Tucson.
Welcome live,
Probably
Danielle.
ate at the same restaurant. Feast. It's a really good restaurant.
Gosh,
you should go there.
Feast, Tucson.
Took my daughter there for her birthday.
All right. I'm gonna clear out and let you do your thing. I'll be back in a bit.
Okie dokie.
Enjoy.
All right. So this week, someone wrote in, I don't know if it was in the comments, but Marianne Burrows did write in. We love her. Marianne, just you see her comments come up and you just get this wonderful feeling. That's how it is with so many of you. It's funny how, have you noticed this when you just look at your email and it's people you don't know? Sometimes the names have like a charge to them. Some feel great, some feel, but you guys all feel fabulous. And Marianne is particularly delightful. So she did ask a question, and that was, she mentioned that I have written in some of my memoir about having some mystical experiences. I had a big argument with my friend Stephen Mitchell about mystical experiences because he was like, they're hoo-ha, there's nothing real about them. And I was like, no, they're the mystery. They're in every culture, people have them. And we looked up the word and found out there are actually two definitions for it. And we had different definitions. Some people understand the word mystic or mysticism to mean cheap party tricks. Like, oh, that's just, it's a lot of baloney. Other people, like moi, see the word mystic as applying to any metaphysical sensation or experience or component of the human, I was going to say psyche, but it's actually not the psyche. It's more just the being, consciousness, whatever. So if you're worried that I'm going to talk about cheap party tricks, that's not what mystic means to me. It is, I'm so excited to talk about this because honest to God, I would talk about it all day, every day. I would talk about nothing else if I had the chance. It is so much more interesting to me than anything else in the universe. And I think it's interesting to you guys too. And that's why we're all here. And, I dance around it and I talk about psychology and I talk about self-help. But at the heart of it all is my obsession with the mystery, and especially with a few experiences that I've had that felt like going back into the mystery. And I say going back into it because I felt like I had existed as part of it before being human. And also that I'm always connected to it, but separated from it by the construct of the human brain. I think the brain is actually a filtering system. I don't think it produces consciousness. I actually think it limits consciousness and allows our perceptions to come through our bodies in a very specific way. But when people lose parts of their brains and become wildly creative all of a sudden, that kind of, it's called sudden artistic output syndrome. We've talked about it before. That kind of shows me if you lose a big chunk of your brain and you suddenly become incredibly creative, that means the brain isn't producing the creativity, it's inhibiting or controlling the creativity. So it's always there, and sometimes we go back to it as in we stop believing that we are just these meat machines, and we perceive the whole universe, ourselves included, as something that is a product of consciousness and is being continuously created and recreated by consciousness. That might sound weird to some of you. It might sound to some of you like, oh, thank God, somebody's finally speaking my language. The experiences that I had, I have written books, so I will tell you about a few of them. One was when I was pregnant with my son and very sad about his Down syndrome. And he wasn't born yet. And so I didn't have a way to really move forward with my grieving. I was just sort of stuck in fear, anticipation, and loss all at the same time. So it was really hard for me. And I finally started to pray about it. There are no atheists in foxholes, right? And one night I was sitting on the floor, and I actually was kind of sitting on my knees. I wasn't kneeling per se. I was in the position that the Japanese call seiza, sitting on my feet, essentially. And I was sort of curled over my big pregnant belly, and I was so scared and so absolutely bereaved. And I kind of gave up struggling for just a minute. I sort of fell forward into the experience, which was kind of obliterating to me. I was only 25, so what did I know? But at the moment that I stopped fighting what I was experiencing, I looked to the side of me and there were these feet in the air, human feet. And it was the least surprising thing I've ever seen in my life. It did not occur to me to be afraid. It did not occur to me to say, oh, it's an angel, or nothing occurred to me. I just fell forward onto these feet, and they were solid, and I could lean against them. And I just kept saying, I've been waiting so long. I've been waiting so long. I didn't even know what I was really talking about, but I felt as if someone reached down and picked me up under the arms like you'd lift a baby and held me like a baby for a few minutes and then put me down. I'm glad I got through that without crying. It came as a human form at that point, I think, because that's what I could understand. And the comfort and the love coming from this, but not from this being. It was so strange because it wasn't coming from this apparently human-like body. It was just everywhere. It's just that the body gave me a focal point. The feeling of a body, of arms around me, gave me a focal point. And after this experience, one of the things that Marianne wrote, I'm not sure what she experienced, but it was something like, it was a near-death experience. It was similar to this. And she commented something that I share this opinion strongly. People think they want to have an experience that would say there's something more than just this, that would say there's some loving force looking out for us, and it's real and it's there, and you experience something that says, indubitably that happened. Well, the reason I think that we are spared that most of the time is that it makes going back to normal life unbearable. Unbearable. It is, what's it like? It's like falling madly in love and being swept up in the arms of your beloved and, pledged to each other forever. And then suddenly your beloved is taken away and you get sort of this grimy, grumpy, sort of nasty homunculus of a being going, I hate everything. And that's who you're supposed to love for the rest of your life instead. That's what the ordinary world is compared to an experience of the mystery. And so it's very typical after these experiences to be really, really, really depressed, which I was, but not just depressed, like yearning beyond comprehension. Like this, the yearning just eats you alive after this. And a lot of people take several years to get over it. I did every spiritual practice known to humanity after this. I did any religion. I would read about it. I would do the practices. Got it. I would fast for weeks. I would do anything. And it didn't really work until I was so sick and weak and scared and sad that I ended up in surgery. And I think I've told you about this too. During the surgery, suddenly realized that I was lying there looking around, even though my eyes were taped shut. And then a light appeared and it filled the room and it filled me. And it was the same being that had come to pick me up in that apartment in Cambridge. Without a question, it was the same essence, but it had no human form. It was just a sphere of light. And it, oh my God, you guys, there's just, I was sitting here getting ready to do this, just trying with all my might not to cry. It's been 30 years and it's like, it barely went away. And in fact, it doesn't really go away. That's the thing. When people have these mystical experiences, the memory of them doesn't fade as much as a normal memory. It's very, very bright. And I think it's because of what the light told me during that surgery. It said, you know, hon, you've been trying to get to the end of your life. You've been thinking I have to live for the rest of my life, however long that is, and then I can go home. And the light said, no, no, you're home now. You're always home. There's no place but home. You're always, always home. You just aren't always aware that I am here. So live the rest of your life in such a way that you are always conscious of this presence. Like live to feel like you feel right now. And I came out of that surgery and immediately went completely bat crap crazy in the eyes of everybody around me, because I would literally do anything that felt more like that. And so I ended up leaving my job, my profession, my city of origin, my religion, my family of origin, and just leaving everything, because those things didn't feel like the light. And then so many years later, Adam told me after a funeral that he'd had this experience when he was 13, that he was sad and this light came to him and touched him and it opened his heart, he said, and it was easier then, he said, to be in this world. And I said, well, it told me that it's always with us, even though we can't see it. And he said, oh, I can see it. And I said, well, where is it? Is it up there? Is it in here? And he said, Mom, it's everywhere. And he gave me a song called Great Light of the World by Bebo Norman, which just, you know, when you get something like that, your son with Down syndrome who can barely talk has gone out on the internet and found a song that so beautifully and expresses that kind of yearning. I would really recommend that you get that and play it and see how it affects you, because it resonates with the part of us all that wants to go home. Now, there are different things you can do with these experiences. One is to envy them and try for them and try to grasp them and try to hang on to them. A lot of people who do that get stuck in a kind of, they get stuck in the wrong kind of mysticism. They start taking any experience that feels paranormal and making that God. And in fact, there are a lot of paranormal experiences that we can have that really don't make you feel the way the light makes you feel. I've had tons of like psychic experiences and seen visions and things. Unless they feel like that light, they're not important. If a cup of tea in the morning makes me feel like that light, it's more important than all the visions I could ever have. That's what it says. I think St. Paul said. He had his problems, but he said, you know, though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels, and have not compassion, have not love, I am nothing. Like, you can have all the visions you want. It's not going to help you if it's not about that incredible. The thing you always wanted, about that. That's what it's about. We always want it because we can always feel it. That's the thing. We couldn't yearn for it so incredibly if we didn't feel it with part of ourselves. And then we know that another part of ourselves doesn't believe it's there. And that causes this incredible pain. It's like if you've ever loved someone who loved you back, but you didn't know it. And that there's such intense chemistry between the two of you. You're not saying anything. And both of you feel like it's like being on one side of that, where it's yearning toward you as hard as you're yearning toward it. And it's right there. It'll tell you, it'll accept you anytime. But you're the one who shuts it off just by not believing you are loved. And with all the pain in the world, of course, it's easy to believe that you're not completely loved. So all of my self-help, all of everything is about getting to that place where you know that the light is there, you're aware of its presence, and you can feel the way you know you're meant to feel. And all the magic in the world, I use the word magic a lot in my writing, and people go off thinking that it's all about tarot card readings or something. And I think that stuff is great. I think it's fun, but it's not the thing. The thing, it's like tracking one creature through the world. And that's the only footprint you care about at all. You track that light. You track that. There's absolutely no word for it. That thing you're yearning for, you track it. You follow everything that feels like that. I hope you're here today because this is a little bit like that. And anything that is even the slightest bit like that, I will go toward it. I will track it for the rest of my life. So just two things I want you to know. One, accept no substitutes. Don't think that anybody who can do magic tricks or who's had visions or whatever is on to the right track. That's the wrong kind of mysticism. The other one is, it's right here with us. It's with you in your room right now. It's with me in this room right now. We really are all participating in it, and we are completely and absolutely adored. Every shred of your broken heart is being answered. I promise you. Just drop your disbelief, and you can feel it even before you see fancy lights and fireworks and things. But then those happen too, and they are lovely. So, Gracious Badger, would you mind rejoining me, please? Grab a chair.
Fetch your water.
Oh, xie. Thank you. That's Chinese. Don't know why it came out that way.
I only understand Chinese, so she has to speak to me in my own tongue.
So I feel really like tongue-tied by this. I just want to sit and cry the whole time.
All right. I haven't been watching the questions come in, but if you have one to ask it now. Carol says, let me be love or kill me. I have yearned towards that, and it has enchanted my heart.
If you let yourself be love, it will kill everything else. And people get scared of that. They don't want to die. And you're right, Carol. When you actually feel it, it's like, yeah, death, nothing. Yes, please let me die. And the light says, no, try the trickier way, which is to live and feel like you will after you've died.
Karen says, I'm tracking connection, and this feeling you describe, do I need to love myself more before that occurs?
I don't know. It may be that you reach it through loving something else. I do know that you have to love. And if that means just giving into your own pain and allowing yourself to be truly what you are, and then finding compassion for yourself, that's a common way. Another way is to get a puppy. You know, like anything you love deeply is going to open that door. Everything. A pomegranate can help open the door to God if you fully appreciate it. If it's you're really present. Gratitude makes it much, much, much easier for that light to come through. So the whole self-help, I gotta love myself more, I gotta take more bubble baths. It's all good, but know that everything, this glass of water is God. This glass of water is God, just like you're God and I'm God. And so when I drink this water, it's God tasting God, and it's very weird. No, it's not weird.
God likes the taste of God.
God likes the taste of God.
Donna says, can the yearning to be with that mystical experience serve as a signal when you should not be in a situation? I was in a relationship in which, while there was deep love, it felt as though I was missing that home and light was not allowed in that space.
Yeah, a lot of things that we call love don't feel like that light. If it doesn't feel like that light, redefine it. It's probably just attachment. We have tremendous amounts of attachment. You know, it's like OJ saying, I didn't kill Nicole, but if I did, it would be because I loved her. And everybody went, oh, that makes sense. Like loving someone that's a logical thing to cut their throat. That's not love, it's attachment. Okay, and feeling very strongly attached to something, and the way you can tell is that you're afraid of losing it and you feel like grasping it tightly. That's not love. Love has absolutely no wanting, it has absolutely no grasping, it has absolutely no need, and it has absolutely no fear of loss. It exists in a sea of itself. You can't lose it. You can't lose it.
Oh, this is such a great question. Jin says, so having had at least 2 experiences with this energy force or light, why do you or we ever lose the consciousness of that present? Why can't we all have this connection all the time? Why are there so few Byron Katie stories of one bad night of desperation and peace forever after?
There actually are more than you think. I've been desperately looking for them for the last 10 years. And what you find out is that a lot of people who have that experience just leave. They decide to die. They don't come back. And if you look at the people who do come back, there are over 20,000 recorded cases of near-death experiences, almost all of which describe a reunion with that love. There's like one negative experience out of that entire thing, and they think it was probably just a drug trip, bad drug trip. But there are a lot of people who've experienced this. But somehow, even Byron Katie, I asked her once, would you live in this state of complete bliss all the time if you didn't constantly question your thoughts? And she said, no, it's every single day, every single moment. I question, is it true? Is it true? Is it true? She returns herself to the truth. And the reason is that the brain generates language, generates thoughts, generates fears, and generates things that aren't quite true. I was going to coarsely say it just generates lies. I mean, we live in a lie machine. And yeah, it's really useful and it helps us navigate a physical existence as a human. But it does divide us from that light. And so it's a continuous sort of house cleaning. For me, it's a daily practice to go back, meditation, reading things that take me there, doing things that take me there, going places that take me there. It's absolutely necessary to do a daily practice to reconnect with that feeling, because the brain is designed to go away from it.
Yeah, I think Lara says, and it's a comment, but I think it's one a lot of us could relate to. She's just talking about the longing. She said it's a rainbow of ache.
Lara, you're a genius. We know you are. It is. I mean, I just sit here and go, that's that, because it's so completely all-consuming. If I didn't continuously reconnect myself, I really would just want to disappear into it every single second of the day. And I am happy. Like, I have an incredibly happy life. I love life. I love everything I did today. I don't just like, I love. Well, that's the thing, when you go toward everything that feels like the light and let the chips fall where they may, and believe me, the chips fall. It is not like everything just lies down for you. A lot of people are like, how dare you? If you do that, you're going to get a life that feels so blissful that you understand why God wants to be here and play with physical things. But yeah, it's still about 95% of the way, and that 5% is a million miles. So what I would say is just keep moving toward anything that fulfills the yearning even a little bit. For a while, here's a confession for you. I used to go out online when the internet was really quite new and just Google angel stories. And there would be all these things that were like, me and Jim Bob was walking across a pond on an alligator, and the alligator bit Jim Bob on the leg, and like a man came and grabbed his other leg and pulled him out. And I said, Jim Bob, that was an angel. And then like spelled with 3 letters of the alphabet. And I'd be reading it and say, ah! yeah, an angel's alligator. Jim, Mom, I've been there. But anything like reading books on enlightenment became the only thing that calmed the yearning for me for a few years ago. So it's almost like I'm being steered towards certain people, certain places. I went to a ranch in California, then it took me back to the East Coast. Like it's just moving me. And I'm like, the second it says go, I'm out. Everything. I will drop everything and go. So yeah, I know the rainbow of yearning. Go toward every single thing that touches that yearning, and your life will transform dramatically, and the mystery will come closer and closer and closer. Yeah.
Just answered the question I had lined up. Okay, Carol says, question, and from that place we can change the world? Love something into being?
From that place,
Carol, you're such a wayfinder.
It changes the world. It uses us to change the world. There's no doing when it's fully present. It does what it wants. It floods through your body. It floods through your brain. It sets up situations. It shows you. It winks at you. Like my daughter-in-law in England writing a book that had the heroes were named Rowan, a woman, Claire and Katya with a J, and those were the names of the 3 people that were living on my ranch, other than Adam and Karen and I. And little God winks like that come through constantly, and that tells you you're on the right track, and something is using you, and that something is so huge that it can set up these coincidences all over the world. I think it's planning to do some fancy stuff.
Fancy.
I think it's planning to do some fancy stuff in the next, I don't know, couple of decades.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Let's be done by it.
Yeah, let's be done. I mean, literally, the further I go into this, the less I actually do. But when I want to do something, it is like I'm on fire. Like I cannot stop it. That's how it's fun. It's a fun way to live. And people will think you're a freak, and you'll have to break all cultural assumptions. And it is so freaking worth it, you guys. It is so worth it. Yes. Anything else?
All right. I'm just going to give you Laura, who says, I'm obsessed with the nature in my backyard. It feels like I'm immersed in love when I walk on my little patch of earth with all the critters that show up. It's true. Love is everywhere.
It is. And do you know, when you go outside, I just read this the other day. When you go into a forest, because of the trees putting out pheromones to communicate with each other, and because we are co-evolved with the trees, by breathing their pheromones, we increase our immune resistance to cancer about 40% just by going into the forest one day. 40%, that's massive. That's bigger than any drug out there. Like, it's all so, this world is a Rubik's Cube that God is solving and keeps spinning the cubes. Sometimes it looks like complete chaos, but sometimes to get the faces to line up, you have to create what looks like chaos. And sometimes it's almost right, but in order to get it completely right, you have to mess it all up again. And that's how this whole interaction with ecology is working right now. I mean, we are murdering the earth. And of course, we're murdering our mother, and we still need her. So I hope it helps us fix that.
Yeah. Well, we're about done. Everyone's loving it. Someone's leaving her job at Harvard to follow the bliss. It's all on, you guys. It's all on. And it's
so simple. I mean, really, it's so simple. There is nothing but love. We know that that's true. We long for experiences that show us it's true. And then when we have them, we become overwhelmed by the desire to go back to them. But there is no back, and there is no forward. There's only here, and it's always here. So if we could all get off this broadcast and drop our disbelief, and that means dropping our fear of the future. It means dropping our fear that people don't love us. It means dropping our fear of pain. It means dropping all fear. Not so easy. But if we could drop it, the moment we got off this broadcast, or now, we would experience its presence overwhelmingly with all our senses. And it is completely real. And it is, in fact, far more real than this dim world that is so exquisite and so beautiful already. But it's magnificent. I'm going to just finish with a metaphor from one of my favorite people, Anita Morjani, who had a near-death experience. And she said it was as if she'd been in a warehouse of incredible treasures her whole life, and she'd had a tiny flashlight, and she would go looking at these beautiful jewels and gold and exquisite carvings and things, and she thought nothing could be more beautiful. And in her near-death experience, she said it was like being in that same place when all these floodlights came on, and she saw that it was infinite and that there were things vaster and more beautiful than she had ever been able to even begin to conceive, and that she was as magnificent herself as the whole thing. So we all live on Indra's web. Each of us is like a point of consciousness that reflects within ourselves the consciousness of the whole universe and each other. That's the truth, people. Everything else is illusion. So thanks, Marianne Burroughs, for asking that question. Thanks for letting me talk about it. Go listen to Great Light of the World, and I love you. Mwah, 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 mwah.
Truth out, y'all.